There's a quality that
So
I'm still waiting for that
yeah.
I missed from then. I don't know what happened, but I'm
Mhm,
still waiting for that. And one of my questions was going to be like, oh, when are you going to put something out there? Because I
mhm.
read I read your poem on Koya Shazrumi, the one that had to do with cracks on the road,
Oh
and
yeah,
Guga.
hero
It was
worship,
so beautiful, hero worship.
hero
I
hero
was
worship.
like, has it always been this good? Then I went back and I saw. And I saw you on Poets in Residence. I was like, oh wow, okay. So I was now wondering, does he still do architects? Like it's there's
Wait,
so much I don't know. There's so
I'm
much I don't
sorry.
know now. So
I'm sorry.
I'm here to find out. I'm here to
Yes,
find out everything.
and I'm here to give you as much as I can. Yeah, it's a complicated life. It's how it is.
Yeah,
Life is complicated.
it is. It is. It is.
At some point you are trying to survive, and
Yeah.
survival is not a patient virtue.
No.
So at some point you're trying to survive. At some point you flip and you are the other way, trying to find a way with this other way.
Yeah.
You just find yourself a bit at the crossroads of just trying to, what exactly am I here for? Especially when you're sort of cursed with too much talent.
Yeah. Yeah. Cost me too
I
much.
suffer that. I suffered that
Yes.
past tense. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
just
Yes.
find out that if you look at my life is not a great example.
If you say so.
I dabbled into a lot of things. So I would rather,
If
if I
you,
say so,
if
I
you
would
say.
rather, I would rather people focus on a few things. I realized that much later that I
Mm-hmm.
just needed to focus on a few things and get really good at them. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing now. So that's
Hmm.
why you just find out that why is this guy looking like he's just journeying left, right, and center, sort of just all over the place, and yeah, not anywhere in a way.
Well, well, okay, I agree with that because I kind of used to also be all over the place. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
writing, I'm doing video editing, I'm doing so much. I don't know. I think it's probably just the system that doesn't support people like you.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And it just makes you. At
yeah.
some point I was a banker.
I was there. I was there. Like I was
Here
there
you
in
go
Jos
again.
in 2017 at that reading, where you were like you're a banker, and I was like,
Whoa.
how? I was like, how does he bank? And then they now said, and then I now read online. They said you're an architect, and I was like, okay,
What is wrong with
okay.
this guy?
But it really inspired me because then I was doing a lot too. So I was like, if Bash can do it, and then next thing I saw that you were doing spoken word at some corporate events on
Yeah.
YouTube, and I was like, okay, so you can actually be
Mhm.
corporate and you can actually be artistic at the same time. And I was like, you know what? So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that gave me the
Oh.
gusto to go into the corporate world. I did marketing
Wow.
and everything.
Wow.
My problem was
Now
I
look
stopped
at you.
writing.
You don't look like a marketer right now. You look like an avant. You look like a creative.
Thank you so much. That's a kind one. Thank you so
I
much.
like your locks.
Thank you
They're
so
really
much.
nice.
Thank you so
They
much.
look
Thank you so
great.
much.
I
My
like it.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How are you? Because I
Mm,
think you're having a great time right now. So
I
like
am.
tell me just how much of a great time are you having?
To be honest, I am having the best. This is the best time. This is the best period of my life. Like I am at peace with myself. I'm over 40 now, so I don't give a hoot about a lot of things. I really don't care about anything else apart from my happiness, my work, my family. Most importantly, and just my spiritualities. I'm at the best place in my life. I just really pray it gets better. I really know myself now. I'm not struggling to find myself anymore like back then, what we talked about earlier. I wish everybody experienced the state I'm in or over something more. I'm happy.
I went through
Mm.
your Instagram. I went back to it years past. So
Oh,
I've seen all of the events. I've seen how the
yeah.
residence is going. What will we not know about you if we go down your Instagram?
Yeah, there are a lot you may not know about me.
Oh,
You
so
definitely will not see the struggle. Um,
ah,
yeah, the very confused periods of my life. Yeah, then of course, you know how it is. We sort of social media is just sort of where we come and celebrate the great stuff, that
yeah,
goes on, not the madness, the confusion, the painful nights, the unfortunate emails you get where you do apply for a lot of things. Whew, I've gotten many unfortunates. I've been sacked twice from my work. So you don't see that on Instagram. Yeah, it's a lot of things you don't see. The struggles with family, being broke. You know, 2019, 2020, I was dead broke.
Hmm.
You don't see all of that on
No, you don't.
Instagram.
You don't see it. You don't see it. You don't
You
see it.
know, yeah, not having a child for close to 10 years. You don't see that on Instagram.
Oh,
When I've got a beautiful baby girl. Oh my God. So
yeah, you
yeah, you don't
do.
you don't see things like that on Instagram.
Because you always have like this happy disposition, and you won't know. And I'm just
Mm.
thinking that maybe let's just stay happy. While
For me, I feel like life is more of because I was a marketer. You mentioned marketing. I was a marketer in the bank. Of course, I was a banker, marketer, blah blah blah. So I do understand in marketing that the law of averages would always say if you chase 10 opportunities and someone else is chasing 100 opportunities, the probability that someone would meet with more opportunities would go to the guy chasing 100 opportunities
yes, yes, yes,
more
yes,
than the guy chasing 10 opportunities.
yeah.
So that's the law of averages. The law of averages sort of just tells you the more you look for something, the more you invest in something, the more you focus on something, the more of that thing you see.
Mm.
So at some point, I realized the more you focus on happiness, the more you focus on joy, the more of that you see. It doesn't mean you don't have sadness locked somewhere. So me just always trying to be happy for myself, happy for other people. I am genuinely the happiest person for every other creative that is doing great. I love to see creatives doing great. Like that thing used to excite me as if it's good food. Based on the laws of averages, I said, let's focus on joy. Let's focus on happiness. Let's focus on the good stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much me running away from the bad stuff using the law of averages.
I think it's working. I think
Yeah,
that works. That works. Yeah,
it
because
does. It does.
life is going to life. It doesn't really care what
You-
you want.
Exact.
So I think if you
Yeah.
focus on that, it even
Mm.
like helps you, like you get through everything much easier because
Hmm.
you're not being stressed. You are what you look for, you are what you eat. It's just that one law that just runs through the
That
universe
law,
and
yeah,
displaces itself in,
what you focus
like,
on,
yeah,
becomes your
everything.
reality.
So I did have a funny question for you from Instagram. I said I will ask this first. Someone was like, "How old are you? You look like it's elementary school
I
teacher."
laughed when I saw that question. It's Undi White is my great friend, by the way. He's a fantastic artist.
Oh,
He's one of those people that are really making the artwork,
okay.
art world's work in Abuja here. He's a solid,
Oh.
solid fellow and friend. Undu Bash is 44 years old, sir. And I don't think I was your teacher in nursery school. I was never your teacher. Oh, that question cracked me up so
Yeah,
bad.
it did. It did. I saw it. I just moved it up. I was like, nah, I have to put this one here. Yeah, I saw you last in Abuja at the Poetry Slam. I think was it the 31st of January? I wanted to bring you to my channel. Let's talk about there's a
Yeah,
lunatic in your town. But from my
yeah,
library, somebody took your book. It means your book was popular enough for them to know because they left all the
yeah.
obscure books back there, and I was like, thank God.
That's one book that has one of the most popular titles ever.
I've been curious because one of my favorite songs, Lunatic in Your Town by the
By the
Isomers.
Isomers.
And I pulled up at one event and they came and next thing we were on stage and they started playing the soundtrack and I just saw Bash and he was giving the poem and I was like, what is happening? So how did that happen? Like,
Oh my
because it's
goodness.
till that's it. Because that first is a very good song. There's a
Yep.
lunatic in your
In your
town.
town, I've gone
Gone
crazy
crazy
for
for
you.
you. And I was like, this is inspired by a poem. I was like, art is back in Nigeria. Poems
Yep.
are inspiring songs now. Then,
Yep.
but yeah, so how did that happen?
Okay. The Isomers have been my friends and my brothers for so, so long. Like while I was in Abuja fully.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 2013.
Oh.
Yeah. So back then in Abuja, we had a collective that I was sort of curating. It was called Freedom Hall. It was like the biggest open mic platform in Nigeria at that time. Like a typical
Mm.
Freedom Hall night in Abuja then could gather 200 people. Yeah, no jokes. If you it's just back then, social media was not huge, so we didn't archive our stuffs greatly like what you guys are doing now. We just didn't know we needed to, like, we didn't do it. Sorry. But
Ah.
Freedom Hall was such a massive, massive open mic. It really served to help young, upcoming artists in Abuja and around to just give them that platform to showcase. So back then we had artists like the Isomers, Blessing Tangban, Frankie Walter, late Eve Ura, Jessica Bongos, and young poets too, like myself. Freedom Hall was one of the platforms that gave me, what I have now.
Mm.
if I must say. So that's when I met the Isomers. So we've always been friends. And when I had my book out, the launch of the book, I told them, look, I would love you guys to perform at the book launch. That was in 2015, 16. And they said, okay, we'll create a song around the title. And that's how that song came. And it was produced by Jeriel Ebuka. Yeah. So Jeriel
Ooh.
was even part of the artists that used to perform at Freedom Hall. Like Freedom Hall was serving back then. But you know how it is. COVID came, and after COVID,
Yeah.
we just couldn't bounce back. I moved on with other things, and I left Nigeria sort of. And yeah, so it's a nice brand that sort of just fizzled out due to COVID, really. Freedom Hall was a jam. The owner of Freedom Hall, the brand, is Tokwe Sadiq. He's a poet. He lives in Lagos. Also an actor, amazing guy. And he sort of just allowed me to use the name as a franchise for the Abuja version. He used to pop into Abuja from time to time to also host. Freedom Hall had artists like MI perform, Mode 9, Asha, Simi, Waje back then. Freedom Hall was a thing. If you Google, Freedom Hall was a movement. Then it was the Lagos edition used to happen at Bobogri House in Ikoyi. So yeah, there's history. We just that we didn't archive, a lot of things. So unfortunately for us, AP used to come for Freedom Hall. I still have the flyer where AP performed. I can share with you much later at Freedom. I think that was 2015 or 16. She was one of our guests. Decipher was there as well. I think I'm like a walking archive of that Alte movement from 2013 upwards to like 2018, 19. I can tell you a lot that happened then. Seth, I don't know if you know Seth. Seth was one of those artists that used to perform on our stage. Seth Ashanta, Rubunu, Jeremiah used to pop in, Brimo, Lindsay Abude.
Mm.
Like it was amazing back then. It was
Wow.
amazing. We used to have it at Barcelona Hotel rooftop in Wuse 2, and we used to have it as there was one lounge, but it's closed now. It's called Sky Lounge. We used to also have it as Soul Lounge. So we just used to spread it. Then Classic Rock Cafe as well. It was a movement. I was looking at my pictures yesterday. I saw one of the events we had with Johnny Dre, who was in the crowd. Man, just history. So much history.
But how did you then merge work and poetry,
Mm,
so seamlessly? Because like you've got at least four different careers, like
yeah.
with all these work. So how are you
So
doing it?
so what I was doing, I will just tell you how practical I did it. We banking was 9 to 5, typically Monday to
Mm-hmm.
Friday. So
Mm-hmm.
once I'm done with work on Friday, I am in the city looking for the next gathering of artists to just sit down and yeah. So that's it. So
Oh.
after work, when people are going to club or whatever was their own shenanigan after work, mine was where are the artists? Where are we gathering? Yeah, so I was either performing at ALS or performing at Freedom Hall or curating Freedom Hall during the week. So I think it's a gift that God gave me. I sort of know how to coordinate. So we already had our band, we already had the venue, we already had the flyer people. So we had already related with the artist a week before that, look, can you be our artist at Freedom Hall? Blah, 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 blah. The band guy knows what to do. He gets up there, he sets up. So I was using a little money from my salary to fund the band. The venues were always free because they always wanted people to gather. So that was our selling point. Can we use your venue? We'll bring people for you. Whatever you're selling, notch it up by 10%, 20%. That 20%, please give it to us so that we can settle some bills. And it was a fair deal. So yeah, that's how we were running. That was a model, but it wasn't very sustainable, of course. But it helped with some small change to tell some artists thank you. At some point, to be honest, we grew so much that Airtel started sponsoring Freedom Hall. Yeah. From time to time, people still ask me, Bash, how far with Freedom Hall now? I don't go do again now. Like, man, I've moved, man. Sorry.
Wow. So
That's
there's
how I got to know a lot of artists from Jeremiah, them, Mode 9, all of them. They're all my people.
so
So, yeah.
so so you're also a
Brimo.
project manager.
Normally, as an architect, of course, you're naturally a project manager. Naturally. It's a natural thing. Because I'm an artist, I sort of just brought in that my project management side into the art. So currently, I also do like a freelance A&R thing for a Nigerian brand, that the Nigerian company that brings in Glenfiddich, Balvenie whiskey into Nigeria. So whenever they have gigs in Lagos and Abuja, I'm always the guy behind the scene suggesting the artists that will perform at their events, and they pay me for that. So I do that too on the side. You might not know because it's my private gig.
No, I mean, nobody knows the project managers until they tell you that, oh, this is them.
Yeah, you
Like,
just make things happen behind the scene and
yeah,
just. I don't like the limelight. I don't like the front line. I've never liked it. So if you noticed, I sort of just even shy away from sharing my poetry. I deliberately, if you really look at it, I'm sure you had a hard time finding my poems online.
yes.
Yes, it's deliberate. I don't. How do I explain this like to make sense to people?
Mm-hmm.
I
Get it.
don't like people in my business so much. I like my private life a lot. I cherish it all my life. I would rather just be happy at home than happy in public. So I
Mm,
struggle to have my materials out. I struggle to even watch my own videos. That's why I don't even post my videos because I can't stand watching myself. It's a bad thing. I wish I could, but I still struggle with it even at this old age. I don't know when I'm going to cure myself from that disease. I would always rather just be the guy behind the scene making things happen. But if you get to understand how I operate, you now understand that I am actually in a lot of spaces, but you won't know.
personally, I knew because because and I whenever I was just at Abuja and I was going for an event, you were somehow always there. See,
Yeah.
I came for the poetry slam and I just saw Bash. I was like, it just made sense. It just made complete
It
sense.
just made sense.
So that's it.
And I flew in. I flew in that day. I landed in Abuja that
Oh,
morning. Yeah, from England. Yeah, I was
nah.
stressed up. I mean, we had to make it happen.
I didn't know you were stressed. I didn't know you were
I
stressed.
was, but that's like my happy place. So you will never know that I'm stressed. So yeah, I was very stressed.
Well done. Well done.
Thank
Now,
you,
there's a lot of well dones that I'm going to say because we're still going to talk about that.
man. It's
So I'm
crazy.
but I think we've called up to like 13, 15 years of this. So how did that would I say, affect your career?
Mm,
Um because I think that there were a lot of things that it did that made like you better at work and stuff.
yeah.
And I think that maybe there are some things that it took away because art is a greedy mistress. So I wanted to
Mhm.
find out like what were those things like from the bank to the marketing, like how did this balance out? What changed and
Mm.
all of that? What was this journey like?
Between the bank and my art, I don't think it ever balanced out. At some point, I had to go. I had to leave banking. From the onset, I did tell myself I was going to leave banking at a particular level, and I actually left
Hmm.
banking at that level. So at a
Hmm.
particular rank, banking has ranking. If you,
Yeah.
yeah, it had some ranking. So I did tell myself I was going to leave banking as an assistant manager, and I did. So for me, I did what I wanted to do, and I'm happy. I'm very happy I experienced banking because it's taught me a lot about how systems work, how money works
Hmm.
within the economy, and I met a lot
Hmm.
of great people. It
Yeah.
is very critical that you understand how money works because as a typical creative, you don't know how money works.
Yeah.
You don't. You're just a
True.
creative. And life is really hinged on finance. Let's not lie. You can't fly without the finance. So as much as you're being creative, you're putting out great stuff. If you don't understand money, you might just be creative and very broke because you don't know how to manage your finances. You don't know how to manage opportunities. You don't know how to read a contract document properly. Those really important stuff that are not like the first things. First things first, of course, you just want to be a creative. But beyond that, there's so much. There's management of the artist, consumer behavior, all of those things. Those are the extra stuff that banking brought to my reality that I'm so 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 grateful for, and it has sort of helped me because I just know how to navigate things and make money off the arts in ways that normal artists would never understand. Like they will
Mm.
never get it, but I'm doing it because I understand certain part of the value chain. Yeah, that
Yeah.
that a typical artist or creative will not get. And so it exposed me to a lot, and I loved that experience so much.
Did you ever
Mhm.
architect at all?
Yeah, I'm still architecting. Currently, I'm architecting more than ever.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah. So before banking, of course I studied architecture from Futmina, served in Asaba, and it was during service that I switched into banking. You know how they did NYC Alawi thing and all of that. So they submitted my batch to Access Bank, and I said, okay, go to Access Bank and open your Alawi account. So I walked into Access Bank to open my account, and while I was opening my account, I was filling the account opening form. Some guy, my friend Ikechuku, he was like, guy, your handwriting is very fine. Oh. I was just writing. Architects, we do have very nice because
Yeah.
you just it's just normal. So, like, your handwriting is very fine. Oh. So, you look like someone that came out with 2-1. I like how you take no, you guy guessed it, but I actually did come out with a 2-1. I like, okay. You go like join bank, then they employ you, then they find coppers. Like, okay, fine. Unfortunately for me, I had my CV in my pocket. Unfortunately, yeah. I just brought it and I gave him. And a few days or I can't remember anymore, but a few whatever later, I get a text or was email. I can't remember the details. It's been a long while, but somehow got a contact from them and they're like, invited for interview, blah blah blah. Like, whoa, really? My man was like, just go, let's see what's up. I went and they liked whatever I presented and they employed me and the salary was 35 grand. Architectural firm when I was serving, they were paying me 15 grand, so it was money. I said 35, 15 or more. See the difference, 20K as a copper.
I say copper. I say copper.
That's how I betrayed my ancestors. And and I joined the bank. But like I said, it was a good one. But fortunately for me, I'd done my sideways with an architectural firm in Port Harcourt. And
Oh.
the guy liked me so much. That's when I learned how to design with AutoCAD and computer aided design. He now bought me a laptop when I was leaving. And now told me that while I'm in school, he'll be sending me briefs. I should just do the design and email to him. So he gets a brief from his client. He sends me, I do the design, I email to him. So I was already working at 500 level. So when I now left and I was serving, their relationship was still there. So I didn't feel like I was out of architecture. So I was doing banking in the evenings, by weekends. I will sit down, do the designs he wants, email it to him. Some weekends when I'm free, I'll go to Port Harcourt because I was having Asaba. Port Harcourt to Asaba was 3 hours. I'll go to Port Harcourt and be at site. Then by Sunday, back to Asaba to start banking by Monday. So I was combining the two as a copper already. And the architect guy was already paying me 50K. So I had 50 plus 35, 85. I was a big boy copper in Asaba town. So so even while I started working as a banker after the NYSC, the bank now employed me as a professional staff. I was still doing the architecture.
Hmm.
Yes, I was doing the architecture. So at some point, when banking was becoming heavy, you know me, I'm always thinking outside the box. I now found an architect in Jos who I could second these designs to through my boss. I'll give him the design and the brief. Oh, yeah, do it for me. He will do it. I'll send it to my boss. I'll collect the money and give that by guy part. Make sense? So I
Makes
was
very
still
sense. Makes
architecting,
sense.
but in my own way. So when I finally now left banking in 2019, I now resumed as an architect with his company fully.
Ooh.
Yes. Relationship last we're still together. So from 2007, I resigned 2019 from banking. I went back to him. My first trip outside Nigeria was to Sierra Leone for a project. So went for a project in Sierra Leone, an ECOWAS project. So like that. And I also registered my own architectural company. So I started my own company. So from 2019, I've been an architect full time till date. I have an office. I have my sites. I have close to like 20 plus staff, direct and indirect staff. So we're building a gas plant currently in Calabar for the federal government. So yeah, I'm still architecting. You might not know, but I am.
Wow. Wow.
I am. If I'm more of an architect now.
It's
It's,
like
yeah,
senior architect. I mean, you really have a
yeah, yeah,
system. You've
yeah,
created a
yeah. I
platform
have.
that is working.
Yeah, I'm going to pay salaries by tomorrow. So yeah,
Wow.
it's fun.
I think it's teaching you something that having a relationship that spans, I mean, we're looking at 20, say up to 20 years, but I know it's
Close
more
to
than
20,
15.
more than 20 years now. Yeah, there are people that you can't. I mean, there are some quality people that when you find them, like my current foreman, I've known him since 2019, and I can't let that guy go nowhere. If he watches this, he'll just be laughing like Babash. No, but yeah, if you find people that understand your mind, that make your life easy, and they are
Hmm.
honest, why are you damaging a relationship? You need them.
This question is from Instagram. I don't know who commented it. I think I'll just put their
Mm,
name there. And they
yeah.
wanted to find out, like, when did you first realize poetry wasn't just something you do, but it was something you were willing to lose everything for? And I'm like, were you willing to lose everything for poetry? But that's your question.
I wouldn't be able to remember at what point, but I started realizing I had a gift. Right as far
Hmm.
back as 1999, there was a contest put together by Benue State government. Back then, call for Christmas poem, and I just submitted a poem, and my poem won that contest. Like, okay, amongst all of these people that submitted, they selected mine. That means there's something here. You know. Then it
Hmm.
was further reinforced at the early days of the internet when we had poetry.com. I don't know if you remember poetry.com. Was a site where we used to just submit poems, freelance, just submit stuff. And 2003, 2004 ish, I submitted a poem, and that poem was picked top 4 worldwide. I was like, okay, So yeah, those were like moments that just told me. And sometimes when I forget, I'm reminded again by one event or another event, another performance. As a writer or a creative, you sort of that cliche line we usually say, your harshest critic, right? We sort of just always feel like, we're not doing enough, I need to do. At some point, you just realize that look, yeah, you've really done well. You've really done well, and yeah, we forget. Sometimes I go through my old videos just to remind myself. But sometimes we do forget, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I can imagine me forgetting. I can imagine
Mm.
you forgetting, but I understand.
I do forget. I do forget that. I doubt myself a lot of times,
Huh.
even up till now. Like when I'm going up stage, I used to still doubt myself. I used to get off that stage. I'm like, are they clapping for real? Did I really? I still ask those funny questions. Yeah. So, but I'm not going to lose myself for poetry. But I know those were moments where I realized I had a gift and I could run with this. And literally, poetry has been the biggest mover of my life. Like it's really directed me. Even now that I'm in England, it's based on poetry. Poetry has just been the base of everything.
We're really happy for it because like I'm
Mm,
always down for your performances because like
thank you.
spoken word. Because I used to do spoken word before, at the
Oh,
time of Sully Briggs, then when Sully Briggs was
oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
when I came to Abuja and then I just saw you perform, I was like, that's a very strong voice. That's a voice that I
Oh
can't
wow,
forget. So,
wow.
yeah,
Thank you.
you'll be a very fantastic voice actor.
Yeah, I've actually done stuff with it. Like Abubakar Adam Ibrahim. I'm sure he was on your show.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
His first book, The Whispering Trees, the
yeah,
international version, I
yeah.
voiced it. I voiced it.
Yeah.
So if you find the audio version, is my voice.
I hope those royalties are coming in.
Ask Abubakar. Ask Abubakar. No, Abubakar is my guy. I love him so much. So and
Yeah.
yeah, I really want to voice some more materials. Like I voiced Romeo's King Jaja, and it was fantastic. I really want to do something about it because a lot of page poets really need people to read their poems well. I
Yes.
Because they are not very great at reading their poems. I'm sorry, but they know actually. I tell Romeo, I want to help them. So in my head, I remember I spoke with Otoke Masobe and I told him, look, if you decide to go into audios, I'm your guy. I spoke to him about this 3-4 years ago. So if he forgets me, I'll come for him. Anyway, back to your question.
Like,
It would be my pleasure to just pick people's pieces and read them and maybe create an archive for it. I don't know. Something like that.
because a lot of poetry is it's different when it's heard. Speaking poetry is a completely different skill, I would
It just elevates
agree.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When a poem can be read and it can be spoken, I find this very
Ooh.
nice balance between that.
That is what I live for.
That is what you
When
write.
you love it and you can perform it, it just
Yeah,
that's where it is.
that's where it
You know,
is.
nothing hurts me like what we have lately, which is fine. You have a lot of young performance poets just come and ramble. Great stuff, listening, but on page, it's crap.
Yeah,
It's crap. I would say there are a lot of they're all my students, or
yeah.
literally all of them. They know I say these things. But for me, my personal preference will be let a poem be good on page and perfected well on stage. I love that intersection. Oof. And there are few poets that do that, Nigerian poets. Efe Paul, fantastic, page and stage. Titi Lokwe Shonuga, fantastic, page and stage. Wana Udobang, fantastic, page and stage.
So
I put myself there.
of course, of course. You're not going to call your name. I have a section here that I was going to read next. I'm going to read it. I hope I sound half as good as you. Okay.
Okay.
And this is just a piece. I just picked out this part from Hero Worship because I read that
Oh,
poem over and over. Okay.
thank you.
He lies at dinner. How if he held my hand and ate my food? It to spread into my stomach like compassion. But what's not to love about a brother's lies? What's not to love when a brother dunks full-bodied into a well near the hangar, beyond sight to rescue our guga and fetch another round of compassion? And
Thank you.
oh, like that was just the center of the poem. The imagery is beautiful. It's also very, very north central Nigerian,
Yep.
because I was seeing like cracks in the earth, because I was imagining, like, north central Nigeria is very, very volcanic. So we
Yeah.
have like a very,
Yeah.
we have cracks. And
Yeah.
I was thinking Kaduna, Jos, Nasarawa, all of those places. And I realized that, okay, Bash has been around these places,
I'm from
right?
Nasarawa State.
Me too, because they say,
Woo!
I
No
mean,
way!
yeah, we are
Oh,
Aquanda.
this is fantastic. Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. We need to meet beyond this.
Definitely, definitely. We need to.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm Nasarawa. I'm from Nasarawa local government, Udege, off
Okay.
Kefi if you're heading beyond the Federal Polytechnic.
Yeah, I know you very well. I know you very well. My
Somewhere
cousin's
there.
school there.
Wow.
Oh, nice to meet you, brother. Nice to
So
meet you, brother.
wow, this is great. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, fantastic.
Yeah.
So
So
the
yeah.
setting of that poem is in Makodi, and it's
Yeah.
actually the story between myself and my elder brother. It's a real story. It's not fiction. It's actually our childhood. Every
Look,
character there existed,
it
from
was
Hawa to the pilot to my brother, of course.
it was very in my field, because when I was done reading it,
Yeah.
I went to make tea. Like, I actually went to my kitchen and brought
Wow.
some. So that's how much it affected, because I was just thinking there was,
Yeah.
you use that imagery of water from the beginning until the end, but with
And
mirror lines, and I was like, this is structure. This is structure. It's real. So I would like to hear about like the conception of that
it's
poem.
real.
Like, how long did it take you to write it? Where did it start from? What were the spirits behind it?
I struggle with writing poems a lot because I don't just write poems. My poems are very personal, unfortunately for me. I envy writers that can just churn out poems week in, week out. Like, oh, more.
Same.
I can't. My poems come from a very personal place, so I have to like really feel that moment to write. I always love my elder brother. My elder brother is one of my mentors, like fantastic guy. You might know him. Air Commodore Amuneni is a senior military man in
I
Nigeria.
I know that name. I know that name very
Yeah,
well.
people know him. He's a pastor too. So he has always been an example from when we're kids. So I've always loved him. So it was just one of those stories. So I started seeing like my hero. I just said, oh, hero worship. I love this man so much. Let me write something around our life, and how our childhood shenanigans, were actually the ingredients that has moved us to where we are, and how I still look up to him, and
Hmm.
how a younger brother just wonders at his elder brother and wants to draw on that sense of heroism to to tell a girl he
Oh,
loves her. Because at the end of the poem, remember when he said, "It is evening. I'm telling my brother about Hawa.
yeah.
How I want to blah 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 blah, and da da da. I tell my brother I want to be brave too." So at the end of the day, in all that sense of, it's just saying there's bravery everywhere. We can be heroes in different forms. How he, of course, jumping into the well, that's a heroic act,
Yeah,
from
it
my brother.
is.
That's
It
crazy.
is.
That thing, he did those things. My elder brother will dunk his body into that well, like our Guga, Guga now, that thing. So our
Yeah.
Guga, the rope might snap and the Guga will sink to the bottom of the well. My elder brother will just go boom, you won't see him. I will, he'll go under the water and pick the Guga and come out. Like, what the? That thing used to bust my brain. Like, how?
Wow.
So he was my Superman. That thing used to like, how do you just disappear and come out with the Guga? Yeah, that was our childhood. We used to fetch water from the well and take a walk to the farm. I remember there was a lonely road, very lonely. That road is still there in Makodi, very lonely. And then because we grew up in an Air Force base, my dad was a military man. So we had fighter jets, we had stories about pilots and all of the adventure. Like, it was a thing. If you didn't grow up in a military barrack, you might not get this gist. Pilots were we used to adore them.
NAFD. I will never forget
Ooh,
the Nigerian Air Force
Kagani,
Day when we used
thank
to
you.
fly.
So if you've not experienced that thing, you might not get that poem. But
Nah.
I'm glad you understand that poem. It's for people that grew up in that environment, and if you
Yeah.
did, you'll be like, oh, I see. So there was one pilot then. It was true story that he was always drunk before he flies. So if you notice that there's a line in the poem when I said our hero, if you can, I don't know if you have the poem in front of you, but something about our hero always gets drunk. We call him the drunken brave.
Yes, 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 yes. I
Yeah,
remember that
he
line.
ran his jet under the belly of the River Benue Bridge. You now know. I now told you that it's Makodi, just behind my mother's compound. My
Yeah.
mother's compound is actually by the River Benue Bridge in Makodi, where my mom lives right now. So I just sort of just captured that whole, yeah, that moment and everything. Then stories about fuel farms. Armory Base where they used to keep bombs. Those were the. I mean, where people had other forms of folklore, ours were military installation folklore, stories about airmen, airwomen, pilots, and wars, coups. Those were the stories I grew up with. If
Huh.
you grew up in the base, that's the story you know.
You know, between you and I think something just awoken in me because I grew up in an
Mm,
Air Force base, all
mhm.
true.
Wow.
My mother was a senior officer. She was a nurse.
Wow.
I did Jos, I
Wow.
did Uyo, I did Kaduna, I did Kano,
Wow.
I
Yeah,
did
you know how they used to
Abuja.
throw them around the place. So we did
Exactly.
Lagos, Makurdi, and Kaduna.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to Makodi, but my mother just
Mm.
never really let us go to Makodi. She also did not. She also refused to go to Ilorin. I've mostly denied that part of myself because then when I was
Mm.
growing hair, they would be like, they'll stop me at the gate and be like, "You look like a riffraff. Go and cut your
You
hair."
know how
So
Barack, you know how they are.
I remember clearly from
Mm.
there's a lunatic in your town because I kept reading it and I
Mm.
kept seeing North Central Nigeria. And this is a question I always ask whenever I hear that the artist is from North Central Nigeria. And I'm like, what is about
Yeah.
this place that we love so much? Because I know why I like it.
I think it has to do with temperament and that deep
Hmm.
connection with your roots. There are certain things that you cannot separate from yourself. I mean, that's where you grew up. That's where your essence is tied to. So no matter how far you go, no matter how much you do, the new friends you make, the new communities you get to be part of, your essence just always calls you back. I tied this to a poem that I did, or I have. I call it Homecoming. So in that poem, I said, "We have come back home to the sweet scent of dust and pureness of this waters drawn from your guts. And the weeds near the clay fence will always creep in green with their tendrils fresh and flourishing off a river down a gentle slope where soft brown pebbles and laterite thickle our souls, and these memories were molded in the wind with our naked palms, laughter and sweat. We have come back home, where we bragged over morsels of pounded yam and chunks of stewed meat to be the best men this land will ever see. We starched courage in our hearts. We have traveled distant lands to earn the fatness of skills, but just so we could come back home. And we have come back home. So yeah, it is a poem.
Hmm.
And it, home is really what life is all about. Because at the end of the day, we're all out chasing the good life in quotes, you know. But we'll still end up home. I mean, look at Wale Soyinka. At the end of the day, he's still back in his Ake land and back home. But you can't explain it. If you're able to explain it, then you don't understand it. You can't explain home. You can't explain it. That is why the human is the human. It's something God has created, a vacuum in us that you just always want to go back home. That's where you're just in touch with yourself. Now, sometimes when I go back home and I get to my mom's house, I feel so much at peace. Like I can't explain the peace that envelopes me when I'm in my mom's house. As rustic and as organic as it is, with all the civilization and whatever that I've experienced and all their technological advancement. My mom's home, just sitting beside her, and she's roasting yam in that her at her backyard with stones and firewood. Wallahi, I love it more than any. I can give everything else for that thing. But the longing is always there. You can't explain it. Trust me, you can't. Like, you've traveled abroad, you have jackpot, you have this out. Like you would don't even understand what you're saying. You think we love this thing we are doing like that.
I mean, there are some poems in, well, there's a lunatic in your town that felt like you're a little decoupled from, well, not home, but from like what I
Mm,
say, the general nation
mm.
state of Nigeria
Yeah, that was just
and
me
stuff.
being angry.
Oh no,
Nigeria is annoying.
it's so, and you know, there was a lot of anger in that poem. I saw you on stage many times embodying that lunatic,
Yeah.
and I wanted to ask, like, what was, because, and I got that strong sense then that lunacy is probably like a misdirection of love. Like, there's a love that like a
Mm.
particular person cannot channel. And I wanted to
Hmm.
ask about that. I've been holding this question for like 6 years.
There's a lunatic in every town. It's just for me. I just wanted to sort of highlight the complexity in society and how the human can exist both ways. So you could be a lunatic. I could define you as a rebel, going against the grain, going against what society says. And sometimes it works out for you because most people that have sort of changed the world with some fantastic, mind blowing inventions are people that just decided, "Oh, look what I'm not doing this way. I'm getting out of school. and I'm just going to create something. And it works out. Then again, the lunatic could be some pervert chasing young kids, doing the wrong things. It could be a rapist. It could be so
Mm.
a lunatic can be anything. But at that point, when I was writing that poem, I was really just trying to highlight how weird we were as a society. It's just weird for me. Like, I really am not. I've never been able to understand how a typical Nigerian thinks, particularly our leaders. I can't understand it. I struggle to understand because how do you explain what is going on? In my head, sometimes I'm like, hey, it's because I've not gotten a political position. Maybe if I get one, I would understand. Or maybe I'll become like them. Because sometimes you have to be careful how you criticize because you just don't know. Maybe there's something in the water in the government house. Maybe. Or something that just sort of screens reality from them. I don't know. I really want to understand it. I struggle with it because you can see that things are not okay and you people are still. What exactly is going on? Someone said if they explain Nigeria to you and you understand them,
You
they're not
didn't
explaining
explain it
well.
well.
Nigeria is confusing me. No. Some things should just be basic, but here we are. Look at all of the killings in Jos. How do you make that make sense? Just total systemic failure. But we're not here to talk about Nigerian issues, right?
Yeah, we aren't. But your work is really quintessential because I looked
Mm.
around that time, and that was when I decided to drop out of Footmina,
Oh,
2017, when I encountered that poem. I
you
remember.
went to Footmina as well.
Yes, I did. I
Come
was.
on, man. What is wrong with you? Why
Yeah.
are we just connecting on different levels?
Yeah.
Yo.
It's
Oh, wow.
because there's still a picture from
Mhm.
your reading in Jaws. I was by your right hand, my hair was low, and you were
Wow.
reading. I think David Ishaya was opposite me because he was the one that
Yeah,
brought
David
me there.
Shah also a great guy.
Maybe if I drop out of this place, it's going to work out. I I eventually did, obviously, and it was good for me. It was capturing like that sense of the age for me that it was a
Mm,
time when there was this great, I don't want to say dropout, but yeah, there was
mm,
this great dropout where people were actually deciding their lives. That
mm.
2016, 2019. I remember on Facebook, that was when people discovered that they were writers on
Yep.
Facebook at that time. And those who started then, they were able to lock in something before COVID came and changed the game. So I went to all the bookstores in Abuja. I was like, "Do you guys have this a lunatic in your town?" And they was like, "No, they don't have it." I was like,
They don't have it. They won't have it. Trust me. I know they don't have it.
"Print some copies for us now. Like, who do we have to
I don't.
talk to get some copies down here
I
now?"
don't know why. I think it's Swede. Swede is my publisher.
Oh,
Swede
okay.
Agema, Savage. Was Savage that published it. Somewhere in my head, I feel like I need to do like a
Forgotten the name.
republication or
Republication. Let's put
of this because a
republication.
lot of people are like, "Where are you? Where is your book?" They love the title, but they can't find the book. People that have it are treasuring it as if it's
No, it
hiding
is
it from people.
gold. It is gold. I'm
They're
still looking
hiding
for
it
my
from
copy.
people. It used to make me laugh. Guess what? I can't read the poems in that book again. Like I read them, I'm like, ugh. I find them ridiculous. I struggle. I have a few copies, but I
Oh,
don't even look at them. Oh God, because I used to I was just like, what was I writing? The tenses. Oh no, I don't like this word. Like, yeah, growth. That's what
yeah,
growth does to you.
that's what growth does. That's what growth does. Yeah, about growth. Like right now, you're a poet in resident at the Portsmouth Football
Football club.
Academy. My first question was going to be before we
Mm.
get into the serious stuff was, Kanu did a lot for that club. So like, have they?
Yakubu as well.
Yeah, okay. So have they made any connection that, oh my god, that Nigerian here is here to give us like the best
No,
of the country?
no. Of course they did. I mean, when I started, they did. Of
Hmm.
course, they know those guys. Those are legends. I mean, it's there in the
Yeah.
club, archives and all of that. So yeah. So basically, what I do as a poet resident in Possible Football Club, I wrote the club's official poem. So I wrote the club's poem. I can share it with you. It's beautiful. It's titled Pompeii Forever. I performed it at the stadium during a game. I also performed it at the State Civic Service because my city Portsmouth just clocked 100 years. So they had a church service just to commemorate the 100 years, and I performed the poem at the church as well. And I also teach club fans poetry, different age groups, Yeah, so that's what I do, and it's been a fantastic run. So yeah, the thing with the English people, they don't cover things. Like they are very shy people. They don't put things out. So you might not know what I do, but I do a lot of great stuff. England is different from Nigeria. They see it as normal.
Yeah, like you've shared like a lot of great moments. But what are like your favorite small moments at the Portsmouth Football
Mm.
Club?
Oh, when I taught a group of 70-year-olds, they have dementia. They call them a dementia group. And so I taught them poetry. It was such a beautiful time. I love old people. I love old people. God, I love spending time with old people. I don't know why, but just because they're just happy. There's nothing, they don't judge you. They're not thinking too much. They're just happy to be alive. I taught them poetry. And at the end of the day, it just ended up becoming a therapy session because they were all just giving me gist about their love life, how they met their spouse, their kids, how their kids are doing. It's just nice. It was just great listening to them and just hearing all of their stories. And yeah, that's one of my peak moments, teaching poetry to that group of people. Yeah,
Oh,
I have a
wow.
picture of it on Instagram. We're all singing at some point as well.
Oh, and I remember that picture. I went through it.
Yeah,
Like I
when
was
I
wondering what
was
was
like
going on
this.
there. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
wondering
I
what was
wore
going
this.
on
I
there.
think I wore this as well.
One of my questions was going to be like, okay, what have you seen there that we could be replicating here? But I've gotten like four different ideas now, I
Yeah, we
guess.
can do that. It's a fine way to keep the old people going. Our society is such a weird society. So what I would say is we really do not interpret the reality of life. We struggle with it and I don't know
Mm,
why. Because there are realities and you must deal with that reality. The reality of childbirth. How do we manage that reality for people? The reality of being a teenager. How do we manage teenagers? The reality of being a middle-aged person or rather an adult before middle age, then old age. How do we manage them? Those are real. People must go through those phases if they don't die young, right? So how do you
hmm.
manage them? So first you say, how do you manage their finance for them? How do you manage? First is finance, then of course their mind, because it's just
Mm,
basically two things that keeps you. If your mind is right, your finance is right, you're pretty much right. Pretty much, right?
yeah.
So they have those things to just manage that segment. So it's just simple. They want to understand how much do you need to survive a day, realistically, not theory. How much do you need to survive in 1 week? How much do you need to survive in a month? Basic. And they say, oh, this is the basic. All right, minimum wage must be able to cater for this. So when you go ahead and fix your minimum wage at 70K and some state governments are struggling to pay it, you're already telling people that you don't understand the reality of your own country that you are a leader in. So we are not setting the management of the society of the economy or the human being against the reality of the space. So you know that people will get old. It's a reality. So how do we manage people getting old? First, the only one we have is the pension scheme, which is a scam to start with,
No, wait, pension is
right?
a scam?
It is. We know it's a scam. Most of those monies will not get to these people. So if someone is old, they might have mobility issues. We don't even plan for that. So those are just the realities of life. Somebody is old. How do they move from point A to point B? Someone at that age, how does the person move if they don't have the money to pay for an Uber? That's where the government is supposed to step in and say, oh, let's have like an old people scheme where if you're old, if you're beyond this age, government takes care of your movement so that that person can move, right? Okay, what if this person is alone and he doesn't have children to take care of them? So are we saying this person will just be there alone and just die because there's nobody else? That's where the government has to come in. Okay, what if this person is losing their minds? How do we cater for their mind? Oh, let's create something. And that's where my job as poet in residence came in. And I'm
Mm,
taking care of their mind, their mental states as old people
mm.
who are fans of the club. It's even a club that is thinking of so
If
we see Nigeria is the Nigeria is we are not realistic to ourselves.
yeah, it's yeah,
I'm telling
true.
you, that's why you find young people doing weird stuff. How do you manage young people? What do young people at 17, 18 like? They are very impressionable.
Mm,
What people think about them matter. What moves them? Oh, they want to get the latest gadget. How do we create a scheme that would support that their desire for the latest gadget? Because at that age, that's what they think. Then a wise government will say, oh, we're creating a youth scheme. You can go get any gadget of your choice, right? We tie it to certain kind of repayments. Maybe in future, that's if they can create enough jobs for them. So that a girl does not need to go and do something stupid because she needs an iPhone. She can just easily walk into a store, a government store, and pick an iPhone for herself. So you must put together policies that are just in line with the truth, the real truth of your society. It's not that complicated. Kai, I can keep talking. Let's
Yeah.
just talk about that. Let's talk about
Way to move away from Nigeria, way to move into the creative
yes.
community in Nigeria. One I was in a class one time, and my mentor was urging us then that
Mm,
as an artist, don't just think about the work you want to create. Also think of like
yeah.
being a part of the system, and it's something
Mm,
you've done wonderfully well. Like
thank
when
you.
I saw that slam, I was like, there is a slam because I wish I had known because I would have put my heart in the ring. I may not have gotten past the first two stages, but
Oh.
just because like it's there, I would like to put the numbers there. For me because I would like to
Mm,
get into like the systems. I would like to host events. Is there any ideas from the
mm,
Portsmouth football clubs,
mm,
poetry
mm,
institution that we could easily clone with the resources you've seen in Abuja
mm.
here and in Nigeria?
Yeah, there are a lot of ideas. I think first off, we need to have as many platforms as possible.
Okay.
You just need to have them. Where I am now, we've got just litany of platforms. Anyone just go and attend. Too many things are happening at the same time. Sometimes you are confused. Like you really need to carry a book, like a directory of events. It's ridiculous. Like events are happening everywhere. So we need to have that expansion of events. But what
Mm,
can also aid that is venues. We don't have proper venues for a lot of events.
mm,
Now here you've got cafes, bookstores, coffee shops, small spaces where you can host a small event, places where you can hold big events. They're just provisions here and there. So we need to start learning how to have more spaces for events, right? And when we do have that, then we need to have small fundings. Just small, like here they have small fundings, not
yeah.
much. They'll tell you apply for this funding for an event, £1,000, £2,000, small money, but it's okay
It's
because
okay, yeah.
it takes care of that event at that level. So if we had small funding sources where they'll say, come and take 1 million, come and take 2 million, come and take 500,000 for a basic open mic, it works. So those little clusters, like I said, we need to learn how to take care of the reality of our spaces. The reality
Hmm.
is not every event will be huge. Some events will just be small. They're just to take care of that that thing per time. So those are the little things we need to understand that life is a reality. There are small events, there are mid-level events, there are big events. And we must provide for all range of events based on their scope. Just as how we need to provide for all types of human beings based on their scope as human beings itself. Then three, make sure we learn how to communicate thoroughly here, right? They communicate so well, it is ridiculous. An open mic, they will send you an email if you're a guest. They'll send you another reminder email. You see how tidy your correspondence was, something like that. They will detail how to get to the venue. They might even have the venue map with the seating arrangement and where you will sit. They'll mark your seats. They really want you to know that they thought about you and this event is thoroughly curated. So that level of thorough curation, we need to learn it. It comes from experience. I didn't even have that level until I came here myself. I started understanding that level of thorough curation, proper correspondence, clear correspondence, when to get to the space, when to resume, when the event starts. Those tiny things that we sort of overlook, in Nigeria. People who need you to come for something, they'll give you a call and say, Bash, come perform now. Come. And that's the end. It was one nasty phone call and they are done. We need to learn stuff like that. There's more, but let's leave it at that
Yeah.
level.
Okay, to implement these things, do you think that maybe we artists we need to unionize?
When you say unionize, no, I think it's just people just having some level of exposure. I think it's the exposure. Because trust me, you
Mm.
cannot do beyond what you know. A lot of people back home don't know that you can actually do more. Sometimes you need to just actually expose people before they can get what you're saying. When I'm sharing some of my ideas, I'm currently the director of programs of Abuja Literary Society. And when I'm sharing my ideas with some of my management team, they still don't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't make sense to them. So it's a struggle.
So I'm going to step into the academic part of the conversation now, because
Let's go.
everybody on Instagram, they're like, "Oh, so I have questions for this poet. I want to do poetry."
Ah.
so I'm going to. So I'm going to start from what poets, like in literature, that's English literature, have you studied? Like, home and
Mm,
abroad, like ancient and even contemporary. I'm very interested in contemporary poetry because I think that is
yeah.
poetry of my time. That's what I want to promote.
Mm,
Even as in form,
mhm,
academically, is there any poets
mhm,
that you swear by? Whose style that you are
mhm,
like, this guy understood something that everybody was yet to understand. So yeah, I want to hear
mm.
all of that good stuff.
So yeah, for last weekend or so, or rather, was it on a Friday? I had like a session called the classic poems, and of course, I shared some of my favorite classic poets. And I'm a very Pan-African poet. Unfortunately for me, I'm very African. I've always loved Richard Ntiru, Ugandan. There's a poem he wrote that I love. It's titled "The Miniskirt."
The
The
miniskirts.
first two lines just busted my mind when it said, "To visualize what you can't see, that's the paradoxical pleasure of the mind."
Ah,
And at
ah.
the aftermath of seeing the death of ignorance, I'm like, oh my goodness, don't do this.
That's a poem.
As a poem. So I love Richard Ntiru. Odia Ofiamo, one of our ancestors in poetry, was also one of the people that really influenced my writing. I loved Odia Ofiamo. I think Kofi Awono, the Ghanaian poet. I loved Kofi Awono. The Sea is the land of home. Well, I loved Wole Soyinka, but not his poems per se. I loved more
Hmm.
of his plays. I really love Wole Soyinka's plays. I think he's brilliant with plays more than even his novels to me. I think Rabi Rivero, I think is from Namibia. I thought it was amazing. Beyond the classics, I've always been in love with Tade Badiola, the Sahara Testament. That's my guy. I love him. If you look at There's a Lunatic in Every Town, he wrote a blog for me. I love what he did with Sahara Testament. Got other people that influenced my poetry, even though they're not poets, where they were rappers. So Talib Kweli, DMX. I loved X so much. It's just the depth to which he takes you and the introspection in his pieces and the authenticity and how passionate he was just mind blowing. So X, I've always loved Method Man. I think it's grossly underrated. DIG. So those are influences. Then come to contemporary poets. I know this is what you're waiting for. Of course, my favorite contemporary poet, home and abroad, is Romeo Riogun. I cannot lie. That's my guy. Romeo is a fantastic poet. I talk about him every other day, and then I bash put on that, calm down, and say, guy, leave that to you, Sabi. I think I'll say Titi Lokbe, of course. If Paul Azino, Dami Ajayi,
Yeah,
yes,
Dami Ajayi.
my guy. Dami is fantastic. His first book for me, I think, is a classic. Lola Shone, I love Lola Shone's poetry. She doesn't write a lot of poetry lately, but I used to read her books back then, and I thought she was fantastic. Koleka Putuma, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Nick Mahoka, a lot of them, brilliant page poets. Sadiq Zukogi, yes! But yeah, let me end there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like I heard the names, like I never heard like Richard Interior. I think I'm going to dig into that because I'm trying to get into
Oh, okay.
poetry myself for the enjoyment. I'm a prose writer. I will prose till I die.
Oh. You proceed, you die.
I'll
I like
prose
that
till I
phrase.
die. Yeah. How does a poet become better at writing poetry, especially when there's the absence of like institutions essentially around here?
It is just two things. Read good poets. Just read good poets and read and read and read and then write and write and write and write. That's it.
Okay.
There's no other formula. Just read good poets. So people don't like reading, unfortunately. I don't know why. Just read good poems. Read good poems. Like look for good poems. I got some good collections here.
Mm.
Koleka Putuma, Sahara Testament. These are my collections. Nick Mahoka, the New Carthaginians. This is his latest book. Benga Adesina is there too as well. I even forgot my guy. So yeah, just read good poems. Read good poems, then write. Read, write, submit, test yourself. That's it. That's the formula. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it.
But so how do we inspire them to like, read, really read books rather than depend on self-expression? Because I did attend Islam and the self-expressions were good. One guy came in and he had this whole Kendrick flow. And I was just
Mm,
there. But when I played it back, I was like, yeah, there's not a lot of content in here. So like, how do we inspire them to read, essentially?
do I have to inspire you to read? I think that would be your problem, right? You want to read, read. We don't want to read, that's your problem. Why should I come and inspire you? Like, who inspires me? I read because I know that I have to deepen my foot into this craft that I said I love, right? And you need to, and you're a poet. Reading should be natural to you. You should enjoy it. Why shouldn't you enjoy? It's like being an athlete and you don't like exercising. Are you joking? Or being a footballer, I don't like training. Or being
True.
a foodie, I don't like eating. Right? You're a writer. You should enjoy reading. It should come naturally. So I don't think I need to inspire someone to enjoy reading. They need to find it themselves. That ain't my problem.
Mm.
Sorry, but that's not
You
that's
know,
not my
I
business,
see
man.
that. That's actually a problem I have battled with because I realized that I mean a lot of book clubs and many of them would have a book of the month and nobody will read, but they want to come and talk about like the themes. You
Oh
understand?
man.
And so that's why I started the book replay because I thought that
Mm.
if I was able to get into the book in a very accessible way, drop a
Way.
critique, and maybe even
Mm.
like tell you guys, okay, look at what this author had to say. Maybe they'll be
Mhm.
interested to see the book.
Man.
I've seen a
You're doing
bit
a good
of
job.
yeah, I try my
Yeah,
best. It's
you're doing a
difficult
good job,
work
bro.
because like I'm an agbaya at this point now. They're like, oh yeah, here's this old guy. Here's this old guy that's come to come and
How
tell
can
us
you?
how to read book.
How can you? So I think the thing is, people are just very distracted with other stuff.
Oh
And one of the
yeah.
worst things ever created, which we do enjoy, are the phones, social media. So people struggle. I struggle from time to time, but I know how to kill it. Just off this phone, just throw it away and grab that book and read and enjoy it. The
Hmm.
enjoyment of reading should never leave you as a writer. If it leaves you as a writer, then you're in trouble. Oh. The
Yeah.
enjoyment of reading, that's who we are. It's weird. I would say if I want to inspire people, I would just say, okay, spend time. Make sure you're always with a collective. Make sure you have a local collective that you're part of,
Hi, local
because it
collective.
does inspire. When you're like, there's a group, a cluster, open mic, reading club, anything. I just sort of, you can just put you on your toes to read. You know what the Bible says about despising the fellowship of the brethren. So
Yeah.
you don't despise the fellowship of writers. So find a fellowship, find a group, and yeah, that could help you if you're struggling with it.
So there was this guy under the comment section that had like this whole paragraph of questions that I had to separate into
My
four.
goodness, I saw that one.
And he was like,
I was like, please. It's not. I'm not defending my PhD thesis. Don't do this. I hope to just have fun. I'm not an academic poet. I've never said I was one. I never studied poetry. I stumbled upon it. I had the natural gift. I developed it by reading a lot. Some of all these classifications and stuff, like what? I just want to write a poem. Anyways.
have you had any
Mm.
brushes with esotericism in African literature like that, reading Richard Intiru and all of that?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Richard was a master of that in a beautiful, beautiful way. And even Odia or Fiamun as well. Of course, Wole Soyinka, because if you read poems like Abiku by
Mm-hmm.
Wole Soyinka, where he was talking about the child that dies, comes back as a new child, dies again, comes back as a new child just to torment the parents. That really just sort of tells you the connection between the physical world and the spiritual world and how it plays in our society. So yeah, African poetry really thrives. The traditional African poetry, like the classics. If you look at our traditional means of communication, it's very oral. Before the invention of text, before civilization, it was oral. We didn't have text really. We just had oral, then of course scribblings on the wall, symbols, and those kind of things. Those were our thing. We didn't have proper text. We really depended on that oral transmission and oral communication.
Mm-hmm.
The king is sending a message to his people. The guy that chants for the king, those guys, or the messenger that goes around, one kaka, one old man, one sage, one. So we're an oral people. And we forgot with the advent of text, we forgot that we're people of oral essence. And if you look at all of those things we did with our oral expressions, which I would say oral poetry, there were a lot of esotericism in it. Worship, chanting, divinations, all those things. It's just too much. In fact, that's who we are. We're a very spiritual bunch, even till today.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
today.
so it's really our template. That's where we all come from. What I just didn't like is the fact that now people will say, spoken word poetry is new, and you look at like it's new in Nigeria. It's new. I'm like, orally, what were we doing? Your kings and your sultans How were they sending messages to the people? Was it by text? It was orally. We've always been an oral bunch. So spoken word poetry is not new. Hello, stop saying that rubbish. You can say this version of spoken word poetry, which is hip hop like, it is new. But oral tradition in sending a message and telling a story has that's who we are. It was even colonial text that sort of caused this problem.
Yeah, so still getting into that spoken word poetry, like, but this one is a personal question because I got into a heated argument when I was
Oh.
about a young with a friend of mine who said that spoken word poetry should be like should be different from regular poetry. Like they should class it differently. The way like it should be a completely different art form. And I was like, classically, it's not like that. It's still under poetry. And he was like, he's joking now. But then I started digging into it. I looked at the classification. I was like, okay, this feels very Western. Because when it comes to like oral storytelling and oral poetry, it almost feels like a different art form. It feels like it carries elements of drama, it carries elements of
Yeah.
prose,
Yeah.
this kind of elements of poetry, yet it still has that unique thing where the medium is voice. So I was asking, like, is there really a case for it to be like a different thing? Maybe we won't call it spoken word poetry, maybe we'll call it, oral storytelling. I don't know. Or is it just something that
Well,
just fits into like the other places?
do you know that that argument will always be there? But if you look at it academically, there's no place for spoken word poetry in academics. What you have closer to it is theater arts. So it even tells you that it's even academically, institutionally, it's not recognized. It's just in there in theater arts. So when you're in the theater arts department of a university, they now teach you performance.
Oh.
All right. Then English, you have poetry. So it's almost like we're bringing bits of theater and bringing bits of literature or English and creating a genre or an existence, which academically has not been recognized. So that's why we struggle a lot because if it's not recognized academically, then it sort of doesn't even exist because we're just creating something. So it's still a work in motion, right? We don't even know where to put it, but we know that there's just something powerful about it when it's done well and it moves you. But we don't know what is this thing. So it's that struggle. It's going to be like that for a long while. We don't know what will happen, what it will evolve into, but we love it because it moves us and it's just really powerful. And for me, a lot of young people have found their voice with that. For me, I think if there's anything spoken word has done in Nigeria, it's just giving those young people some sense of self. Bro, young people go through a lot, man. Some young girl that is earning millions now just performing. That girl could have been some random girl on the street messed up by some guy or some. She could have been an addict or something. But now she can stand and say this is who I am because people are listening to her poems online and she's getting calls to come do this there, come do that there. That's enough.
We've spoken about art, and I think you
Mm.
actually touched on this. And this is a question where someone was like, where does art, that's specifically poetry, play a role in creating a civilized nation and a developed country? So, like, I think we've
Mm.
answered that, but I don't know if there's
We've
anything
answered
about
that.
that you okay.
But again, like we said, place of the mind is very important in society. What makes a society is actually the mindset of the people. Sometimes you need to be deliberate in programming how your people see life. Sometimes it's deliberate. Sometimes we forget in Nigeria, we leave it very random. Because at the end of the day, it's actually the ideas that make people. And ideas don't just pop into people's head. They're an accumulation of, bits of information they
Yeah.
gather. So if you can control that information they gather, at the end of the day, you're controlling the frame that they now view the world from. So performance poetry has its place there because at the end of the day, you're throwing ideas into people's heads. You might think you just listen to that 1-2 minutes poem, you think it's gone. It's a lie. A seed has been sown because if you understand the nature of the human mind, like they always say in certain books that I've read, the subconscious mind does not wait for your permission to allow a seed to grow. The subconscious mind is just a fertile ground. If any seeds lands there, it germinates. And seeds get into the subconscious mind through your eyes, through your ears, mostly. So once it's in there, it grows. When you understand the power of how the mind works and how mental programming is important, you now understand the place of materials that come from poets, from writers, and all that. And apart from that, performance poetry is a great way to document history.
Yes.
Because if you look at the classic poems, most of them touched on post-colonial Africa, pre-colonial Africa. You can easily just read those poems and see how it was then, how Africa was then, how the thinking were and everything. Same thing that's happening now. Most Nigerian poets are writing about what's going on now. In the next 20 years, people that will listen to these poems now will be like, oh, that was how it was 20 years ago. Oh, this way the thought of the people. See the poem you read, Hero Worship. It captured the period, and that period did exist. So it's just amazing what poetry can do, and we need to really recognize it. I'll end out there.
Yeah. But pulling out of that, so in all of your successes and more
Hmm.
successes to come, what is
Yeah,
one advice that you've been given that stuck with you?
I think it would be my other brother's advice when he said I should just pick the few things that I'm good at and stick with them. Because I was all over the place. So choose one or two things that you're good at and just stay there. Because I was a dancer, I was a footballer, I was a ridiculous stuff. So yeah, so I had to just say, oh, do you know I paint? I'm an artist as well,
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I was going to ask about that.
and I did that many years, 20 years ago. So yeah,
Should
it's
you ever retire? You're going to really have like very great retirement because like it's.
yeah. I'll just sit down and be painting in my house.
I would like to see those paintings. I would really
Please.
please share them
I'll
if you
just be
can.
painting in my house, marijuana.
Can you still play football? Can you still
once
move like
once in
that?
a while. I still play once in a while, but
Mm.
at least right now I'm a poet for a club, so that's fine.
Ah, it comes full circle. Okay. I see that. Now, this question is from Cole because we are very education based and like we are trying to improve reading culture and all. So the question is, what does quality education mean to you? And why should the entire populace care?
I mean it's basic. Like I said, it's society is actually a sum of the thoughts process and the thought frame of everybody else, from their leaders to the least person. So if you educate the people right, you're doing great. One of the biggest problem we have there in Nigeria is just lack of education and just the wrong mental framing for a lot of people.
Mm,
People don't value people. People don't understand that. Look, a human life is very important,
mm,
very important. The government needs to impress on people that the value of a life is everything. And pretty much that's it. So education is just really what makes everything a little better. Of course, you cannot have a perfect society, but if you can reduce the anomalies, the violence in society to a good degree, that's great. Because it sort of just affects the economy at the same time. So all of those things they really just connect to each other. So it's a no-brainer to just always realize that educating our people is it's very paramount. Look at Nigerians that are doing great abroad. You can see them in the academic space, in this, in that. Like for instance, I'm the first Nigerian to be a poet in residence in an English club. I can beat my chest and say that any day. So, and it's the education I got from poetry that got me here, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and also putting Nigeria on the map again. Like, oh, why he's a Nigerian?
no, this is a question from me. Like, so it's been 10 years since
Hmm.
lunatic in your town, and
Yes.
while congratulations by the way, because I mean, whereas it's out of print, but right now, but that's neither here nor there. But over these 10 years, I have seen the readership change. Yeah, because the
Yeah.
people I was reading with, the books I was reading with, they are doing different things now. There's an audience that is willing to. So,
There is an audience.
yeah,
There is much for me. It's much better now. We have a better audience now.
there is also like an
Yeah.
industry that also is
Yep.
rapidly, surprisingly
Yep.
rapidly gaining a lot of structure and learning,
I agree with you.
iterating. So it's perfect for another book.
Yes, it is.
So I know that artists will be like, "Oh, I don't want the book to come out until the book speaks to itself." But were you working on something? Were you thinking of working on something? Is there any help that you need? Because
I
yeah.
actually have a manuscript. I do have a manuscript. Yeah, and some of the poems that are out online might make it in there. So I do have a manuscript. I don't know when I'll put it out
Hey,
fully, but I seriously don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm hesitant, but I will put it out soon because, yeah, 10 years is a long time. I think I just sort of have this fear of, I hope it doesn't come out and doesn't do great. I hope it doesn't come out and people don't feel it, you know. all of those kind of doubts. Yeah,
So like
it's on my mind.
I'll cut you right there. I'll cut you right there.
Yeah,
I'll cut you right
yeah.
there. Like I said, like I said, like I think as far as would I say if there were gods of like spoken word poetry, because you know each they sort of have like gods like people that are in canon. As far as a
Mm.
canon goes over the past 10 years, I would put it to you that you are a part of that canon. Maybe if there was top 10, you'd be number 10. Either way, sure, you're still on the list. That's the thing. Right? And we're actually at a point where if you actually market a book,
Mm.
it will sell. Like I've seen this happen.
I think so. I think
So
so.
so so
I don't
your
think I've
so
lost my relevance that badly.
the skill is there, the relevance is there. You do have a followership
I
across the
try.
ages. When so like what I'm saying is even if it doesn't work, if we
Yeah.
market it, it's going to be read, it's going to sell. Then how much more when like they're already at least
Mm.
3 4 poems online that I'm seeing and they are very powerful, and I am ready to sit down and I'm ready to go intellectual about it. I'm ready to put it. Your book inspired is your poem inspired the song. So like
Yeah.
if there's show me a poet that has done that in
No,
contemporary
it
times.
has a, yeah, not in contemporary times. Yeah, not in
So
contemporary times.
so if there's any fear there, I'm saying that it's just false evidence appearing real, and like if you can do with that, then we are there.
Okay, I think I'll speak to Romeo. I'll
Please.
speak to him because he tormented me the last time we spoke. Dami Ajaito has tormented me enough. So I'll get that book out. I promise. I have a title for it. That's the beautiful part of it.
Thank you so much for your work. Thank you so much for like answering the call for poetry, because you could have been anything else and you would have been very successful. But you sat with us and you're like, there's something here, and we'll also say we don't stress you because it's art. It's very amorphous.
Mm,
There's no when there's no structure, you have a lot of things that just don't go right. But you've been
yeah,
here, and I'm so happy and I'm so grateful to the world that it has even rewarded you. And I don't
thank
think it's
you.
enough. I think that Portsmouth is probably just the start. Like maybe you should probably be like inside the government and probably be like in the archives or something. Like,
I really would just have to get that poem out, that book out, and
oh no, I'm all
yeah,
over
I
it.
have enough poems for a book.
Mm.
I do have enough poems. I've just been waiting for that masterpiece poem. You know that thing in your mind that tells you there's still one more. There's still
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
there's
it's
still there's
it's it's
still
really good instincts if you ask me. Like it's really good
yeah.
instincts.
That first book, there's a lunatic everything was actually forced out by Swedy. He was like, Bash, enough. Just bring what you have. Bring what you have. I was like, okay, take.
Okay, so I know who to I
Kill
know who
me.
to talk to next. I'll give you a call. I
Yeah,
know who to
Swedy.
talk to next. I know who to speak
Amazing
with
guy.
next. All right, so the last question was just going to be where you're going to ask me a question.
Oh,
So
I was
is
gonna ask you a question, right? I would like to hear your thoughts on the current state of I'm very particular about performance poetry. I don't know how much experience you have in terms of performance poetry beyond Nigeria, or how much you listen to poets outside Nigeria. But I just wanted to ask, do you think that a Nigerian poet can someday win maybe a Grammy for performance poetry?
yes, I
Do you think we have art
believe.
enough to get to that level?
I believe strongly that if we are rigorous enough,
Mhm.
because I keep telling people that what we are missing right now in the scene
Mm.
is that rigor. Because all the artists that have had that rigor, they are all abroad. There's you. There's Umar Sidi Abubakar. That's one of my favorite poets. Like his first novel nominated for the Doubly Literary Shortlist, because we have
Mm.
the talent, we have
Mm.
the stories, we have the depth of spirit.
We have
We
the
just
depth
need,
of spirit. You see that thing you said?
yeah,
Depth of spirit. Ooh,
we do. And
that's what
and
we don't have in the Western world.
exactly. I was speaking with Tendai Huchu for
Mm.
my last interview, and he was like, the center has moved from the West. The center is our center, at least for literature, has come back to Africa. And we have the stories that are really going to move the world, because everything
Mm.
that is happening now, like this, they basically perfected it in Africa here. So
Yeah.
we will tell you everything. What we just need is that rigor, for somebody to just sit down and be rigorous with that art. And then when our platforms come up, we're able to like actually push these people out, whether it's by YouTube, anyhow. When everybody's like, oh, the world needs Africa, Africa is going to set the stage, and I'm like, yes, you are basically taking our minerals, you
Hmm.
understand? You are
Hmm.
taking our oil, you are taking our people. It's only a matter of
Yeah.
time before you come
Yeah.
for our messages, and you actually,
Mm,
and because now you can't take it away, you just have to come and beg us for it, because you cannot recreate that. You can steal everything else, but you can't steal that message. We need that rigor. So once that rigor is there, we don't even need the ground itself like this. This used to be the headquarters of performance poetry, because again, like you said, which I actually just made that link. It is our culture. The way our society was organized was that we kept a lot of secrets within us. If you don't want somebody to know what you know, you don't write it down, because once they learn the language, everything is open. So what you do first is that you create a symbol that is very complex, that is only when you tell somebody the story, you pass it down orally, that person now has the key to unlock that secret. Even when the Portuguese came to Benin, what they came, they just saw so much art,
art.
complex art, no writing. And those arts
Nothing.
were
Yeah.
exactly, but those arts were used in rituals, because those rituals were spoken. Even if you just look at the basic African voice, it is very powerful. That voice is something that communicates, something that you can't ignore. It stays in your head. So, like, all the tools are here. Once we add that rigor, that's all, because it's the rigor that now will now help us build those platforms, and I hope we
Wow.
get there. So yeah, that's my
Wow.
take.
Man, whew, that was solid, man. Thank you.
It has been lovely, and thank you so much for staying 2 hours. I know that one or two things, but thank you so much. Thank you so
No
much.
problem. My pleasure, man. I loved the interview.
I hope we have a day better than the one you've had there, because that would be my wish. So yeah, I hope this is just the beginning.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you. We need to catch
definitely,
up. Don't worry.
definitely,
We'll
definitely.
catch
I'm
up.
here. I'm here.
Talk to you soon again.
Talk to you soon. All right, bye bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Yeah.